Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Srimad Bhagavatam overview class. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksharo Nritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrachatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vichakhan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome everyone. We are discussing from the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are discussing the discussion between Prachina Barhishat, King Prachina Barhi and Narad Muni. And we discussed so far how Narad Muni, he described a very beautiful allegorical story to explain Prachina Barhi how he is so very attached to the family life, he is so very attached to the material karamkandi activities. And the purpose of this story was that Prachina Barhi should become detached from all these karamkandi activities and become absorbed in serving Krishna, performing devotional service unto the Supreme Lord. So because of that, he explains a whole beautiful story describing how he has to renounce all his material karmakandi activities and take shelter of the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. So that was the end of the 28th chapter. We discussed how Narad Muni described the whole allegorical story, ending up with the meeting of Avigyat to Vaidarbhi. So Vaidarbhi represents the living entity who first gets a male body, and then he enjoys, and then he remembers his wife at the time of death, and because of that he gets a female body and becomes the daughter of the king of Vidarbha. In that life she gets married to a king called Malayadhwaja. And this Malayadhwaja represents a spiritual master. And how when she faithfully served Malayadhwaja, after Malayadhwaja and Malayadhwaja ruled this Kulachala, and after ruling for a long time, he gave up his kingdom, and along with the wife Vaidarbhi, he went to the forest and did tapasya. Vaidarbhi, she was serving her husband very nicely, and then one day Malayadhwaja, focusing his mind on the super soul, he also left his body. And as Vaidarbhi, she was about to enter the funeral pyre along with her husband, a very old Brahmana came. His name was Avigyata. And he started telling that how he was a very dear friend. In the last life also, they were together, and they have been together for many lifetimes, for thousands of years. And then that is the super soul who is Chaitya Guru in the heart of every living entity, always directs the living entity to the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. That is how Lord is so very gravely working to bring the super souls, bring the living entities back to the super soul. Living entity may not turn towards super soul, towards Paramatma, but Paramatma, super soul, is so very concerned, just like a loving father. He never leaves the living entities. As Hridas Thakur tells Sanatana Goswami, Maharaurav haite koriya tomara uddhar Kripara Samudra Krishna Gambhir Apar. He says, O Sanatana Goswami, Krishna has delivered you from a hellish condition because Sanatana Goswami's body was filled with pus. Kripara Samudra Krishna Gambhira Apar. Krishna is ocean of mercy. He is working very, very gravely to protect his devotees. And throughout the Bhagavatam, we see that devotees, they may go through so many problems, so many difficult situations in their life, but ultimately by the mercy of the Lord, they come out of it. Starting from the first canto, we discussed how Parikshit Maharaj, when he was in the womb of his mother, he was protected by Lord Krishna himself. Angushtamatram amalam suparatapuratam aulinam apivyadarsanam shyamam taditavasa samachyutam. He saw Krishna with all his beautiful bodily features, wearing a yellow garment, having a gada in his hand, paribhramantam ulkabham. He was revolving around Parikshit Maharaj, small baby, protecting him. So that's how avigyata, the super soul, never leaves the living entity. It is our responsibility to turn our face towards that super soul. In Bhagavad Gita, it is described that there are two activities of super soul, Upadrashta and Anumanta. Upadrashta means overseer and Anumanta means permitter. So these are the two activities of the super soul. He permits and just observes, does not do anything, just observes and gives sanction to the activities of the living entities. But for a devotee, super soul is an active guide. For a non-devotee, he is a neutral observer. But for a devotee, Paramatma is an active guide, guiding the devotee in every step of his life. And that's how Avigyat, he instructed in so very beautiful ways. And then this story ended where, it is described that this Vaidarhi, she became very enlightened. And then Narad Muni told Prachina Barhi that this is the allegorical story which I told you. So after hearing the whole allegorical story, Prachina Barhi, he says, actually, I could not completely understand the meaning of your story. Can you please explain me? Only experts can understand. I am not able to understand. So now, in this whole chapter, Narad Muni describes the meaning of the allegorical story, and then he describes the way out of this material existence. So we have discussed this in earlier chapters also, how this Puranjana, he enters the city of 9 gates, and how Puranjana is a living entity, the city is the body, Avigyat is the super soul. The city of 9 gates means body with 9 openings. Puranjani is the material intelligence. They are the male friends and the female friends, and the serpent is the Pranavayu. And the 11 attendants following the Puranjani were 10 senses and the mind. So therefore, all this was described, and then it was described that the intelligence creates the queen, creates different situations for the jiva. When the jiva is awakened, in the awakened state or in the sleeping state, intelligence is working. Intelligence is working even if we go to sleep. Under the influence of the intelligence, the jiva, the living entity, simply imitates the actions. Just like we discussed, Puranjana was doing whatever Puranjani was doing. If she would eat, he would also eat. If she would sleep, he would also go to sleep. So therefore, the living entity imitates the actions of intelligence. And then Narad Muni describes the chariot body analogy which he gave. And then he described about the attack of the Chandaveg, how the Chandaveg is the time, old age, and how we discussed the whole story. And then Narad Muni said that although Jiva is transcendental to the material existence, Jiva, we are not this body, we are soul, we are spirit soul. But out of ignorance, we start accepting this body as mine. This is me, and things related to this body are mine. So the ignorance is the first thing which covers the living entity. We discussed in the third canto also Brahmaji, when he was creating, first he created 5 types of ignorance, by which living entity completely forgets his relationship to the Supreme Lord, and then he thinks, I am this body. So therefore, there are so many things which are happening with this body. Ichha, Bhagavad Gita says, Ichha dvesha sukham dukkham sanghatas chetana dhriti etat kshetram samasena savikaram udaritam. So 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, the kshetragya, the soul is called kshetragya and the body is called kshetra. So soul knows whatever is happening in the body, but he cannot know what is happening in others' body. So soul is limited kshetragya. Super soul is the knower of all the kshetras. So interestingly, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter describes the transformation of the kshetra. So in the kshetra means the body. So he says the transformations which are happening in the body are Ichha, Dvesha, Sukha, Dukkha, Sanghata, Chetana, Dhriti. So somebody may think, Are Ichha means desire, Dvesha, envy, Sukha, happy, Dukkha, distress. All these are not experienced by the body. These are experienced by the living entity. So why Krishna is calling these as the transformations of the body? Because we so very closely identify ourselves with the body that even though things are happening in the body, the soul thinks they are happening to me. So this is the basic misery of material existence. I am this body, and things in relation to this body are mine. So therefore, Narad Muni is telling all that. And then after that, Narad Muni starts the description of this material existence. He says, Jiva, we, because we have forgotten Lord, so Anadi Bahirmukh, we have turned our face away from the Lord since time immemorial. Then therefore, living entity comes under the influence of the 3 modes. And then he starts identifying with the body. And because he starts identifying with the body, he performs actions which are in the 3 modes, Sattva Guna, Rajogun, and Tamogun. Based on these actions, they get a particular type of body. We have discussed all this in Bhagavad Gita and many times. Based on the actions in the different modes, one gets a body. Urdhvam gacchanti sattvastha, madhye tishtanti rajasa, jaganya gunavrittistha, adho gacchanti tamasa. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, those who are in the mode of goodness, they go to higher planetary systems. Those who are in the mode of passion, they stay in the middle planetary systems. Those who are in the mode of ignorance, they go to lower planetary systems. It is all happening because of one reason, the desire to enjoy. Purusha prakriti sthohi bhunkte prakriti janvana. Bhunkte means the desire to enjoy. I want to enjoy this world. I want to enjoy all the nice things. One time Srila Prabhupada was there in this room and a cockroach came in. So Prabhupada, he caught that cockroach. He went to the window and he allowed the cockroach to go out of the window and said, just see, I'm giving you the whole world to enjoy. Just go. So we want to enjoy in this world in so many different ways. So therefore, so many different species of life are created. But the problem is, all the species of life, there are 3 types of miseries which are there. That's how Brahmaji has created. Brahmaji, after creating this body, so many species of life, he became very sad. Shuttritridhatu birimam huradyamana shitoshnavat varsha itarettaracha kamagna sakalayo nishudahyamana sampashyato mana urukramasidate me. So Brahmaji, after he creates the body, he thinks, oh my God, what type of body I have created, which will give only trouble to the living entities. Shut trit tridhatu. Inside, hunger, thirst, and all the 3 dhatus, kapha, vata, pitta, always disturbed. Outside, sheet, ushna, vata, varsha, cold, then summer, then Vata, air, and rainy season. All these things are happening. This is not sufficient. Kama Agnina, solve these gross problems and subtle problems. Kama Agnina, lust is burning. Sakala Yoni Shuddhayamana, burning all the living entities. Sampashyato mana urukramasidate me. So Brahmaji has created this body. Prabhupada writes, this desire to enjoy is the seed of material existence. Krishna bhuliya jeev bhogavancha kare nikatastha maya tare jhapatiya dhare. When a living entity wants to enjoy separately from Krishna, immediately Maya Devi comes and pounces on the living entity. Jhapatiya dhare. Pounces on the living entity and captures the living entity. So Maya Devi is such a wonderful, expert servant of Krishna. She does her job very nicely. In fact, she knows a living entity more than living entity knows about themselves. Maya knows our weakness. Maya knows our, faults and where we'll fall down, and she very nicely arranges tests so that we understand that where am I standing, and therefore even in the process of devotional service we have to be really very, very careful, because we have waged a war against Maya Devi, and if after waging a war against Maya, if the soldier goes to sleep, बोले ठीक है अभी बाद में लड़ाई करेंगे, आक्रमण बोल के, if somebody goes to sleep, then what will happen? So this desire to enjoy is there. We have to understand we are made of this desire. So desire to enjoy is there. So therefore we have to try our best to chant and pray attentively, sincerely, so that we can give up this enjoying mentality and come to the mentality of serving Krishna. Prabhupada writes, a servant may desire to start his own business and imitate his master, but the result will be he'll be frustrated. Sometimes he may get little success, but he'll be frustrated at the end. So therefore we cannot enjoy separately from Krishna. And then Narad Muni describes the position of a living entity in this world. Shutparito yatha dinam sarameyam griham griham charan vindanti yaddinam dandam odanam evava. So he says that living entities in this world, they are like dog. They are wandering, just like a dog sometimes, goes to one place where he gets very nice food to eat. Other places he may be beaten. Similarly, Jiva, who is full of the desires, sometimes he gets a very good body, higher planetary system, enjoys there. Sometimes he gets a lower body in the lower species of life, So therefore, all these are happening by the different modes of material nature. Those who are in the mode of goodness, they go to upper planetary systems. Those who are in the mode of passion, they stay in the middle planetary systems. They get a human bodies. And those who are in the mode of ignorance, they may get a body in the animal kingdom or in the lower species of life. Only by the mercy of the Lord, a living entity can get free from these modes of material nature. So therefore, Narad Muni says, because of the karma, various different types of karma, kvachit puan, kvachit chastri, kvachinno bhayam andhadhi, devo manushya tiryagva yatha karma gunam bhavah. He says sometimes living entity becomes a man, sometimes a woman, sometimes a eunuch, sometimes a human being, sometimes a devata, sometimes an animal, and wandering in the samsara, just like a dog, very heavy. Why a living entity wanders? Tatha kama shayo jiva uccha vaccha patha bhramam uparyadha va madhye va yati dishtam priya priyam. Kama shaya jiva, kama asha, the desire to enjoy is so very strong. Sometimes you go to higher planetary systems, sometimes in the lower, sometimes in the middle. So therefore, living entity's position is like a dog. Prabhupada writes, sometimes in the Western countries we see that even a owner gives his whole property to dog in his will. So sometimes dogs enjoy very nicely. Sometimes they're like street dogs, condemned. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, if you want to be free from this cycle, you have to become the dog of Krishna. Prabhupada was giving a class. One person raised his hand and said, Swamiji, you are telling, Prabhupada was saying, if you don't take to this Krishna consciousness, you will lose this human form of life. You may become a dog. So this person raised his hand. He said, Swamiji, I have no problem becoming a dog, because in America, dogs are very respected and reputed. Prabhupada said, you have my blessings with you. Become a dog. So therefore, other devotee was thinking, oh my God, a pure devotee is giving him blessings to become a dog. What will happen to him? So therefore, if we don't take to this Krishna consciousness, then our position is also very, very precarious. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung, Vaishnava Thakur Tomara Kukura Bolia Jana Ho More. He says that, O Vaishnavas, O devotees of the Lord, I want to become dog of yours. So better to become a dog of a Vaishnava, become a servant of a Vaishnava, servant of a devotee, than to try to become God in the material world, because we cannot do that. So therefore he says that actually people in this world, the jivas, they tried their best to counteract all these miseries, but all their attempts are very, very futile. So we should understand that there is no need to counteract the threefold miseries, because we can never be able to counteract these miseries. Endeavor for that which is not available in this material world. Tasyeva heto prayateta kovido na labhyate yad brahmatam uparyadaha kallabhyate dukkhavat anyatas sukham kalena sarvatra gabhira ramhasa. Therefore, tasyeva heto prayatet, you should endeavor for that na labhyate yad brahmatam, which is not available while wandering in all these 14 planetary systems, because the happiness of this world is available anywhere. Kalena, in the due course of time, one gets happiness, one gets distress also. So therefore, there is no need to spend time counteracting the miseries, because we will not be able to do it. We have to take shelter of Krishna. Krishna is such a merciful master. Who will not take shelter of Krishna, understanding that Krishna is so very merciful, he is ready to break his own vows to protect the vows of his devotees. Krishna gives his promise to Arjuna. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. In the Govardhan Leela, it comes, all the Brajvasis, they go to Krishna and say, oh Krishna, just look at this, what has happened, because you told us to do Govardhan Puja. Now Indra is angry on us. Please do something. Indra to Krishna, he said, don't worry. I will take care of these devotees, because I have taken a vow to protect my devotees. That is a vow of Krishna. I will protect my devotees. So therefore, we don't have to be so much scared. Okay, should have healthy fear of Maya, but we should have full faith in Krishna. Avashya rakshibe Krishna. So therefore, Narad Muni says that people, living entities, they attempt to escape miseries. Actually what they are doing, yatha hi purusho bharam shirasa guru mudvahan tam skanda sa adhatte tatha sarva pratikriya. It is as if a person is carrying a huge load on his head, and then when he feels it is too very burdensome, he shifts that load to the shoulder. So this will not solve the problem. So trying to solve the problems of this world is like solving one problem and creating another problem. As Prahlad Maharaj also says, dukkha ushadam tadapi dukkham atadhyaham. The solution to the problems of this world become the bigger problems than the problem itself. And Prabhupada gives the example of transportation. Earlier there were people who travel on the bullock carts and horses, and now people, they are traveling in fast cars, fast mode of transport, but the problem is pollution and accidents, all that. So therefore, the cause of suffering of a living entity is the sinful activity. So one may suggest that, by doing sacrifice, one can atone for such sinful acts. Narad Muni says, no, there is only one solution to be free from these miseries, and that is bhakti. Only by awakening Krishna consciousness, one can be free from this troublesome dream. Krishna Narad Muni is saying, everybody in this world, they are dreaming. It is as if one is experiencing a very horrible dream. So how to counteract that dream? If somebody thinks I'll take another hallucination to counteract this dream, no. Just by waking up, he'll be free from that dream. Similarly, by this Krishna consciousness, which is due to because of this, material consciousness, which is caused by ignorance. This can be removed only by Krishna consciousness. That is like awakening. So therefore, this is the only way, as Prabhupada would always say, the only thing which is missing in this world, which is needed in this world, is Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada gives example. In a dream, if a son dies and he starts lamenting, oh, my son has died, my son has died. Then in the same dream, the son becomes alive again. So then he is happy. Oh, my son has come back to life. Then a snake comes and bites the son. And ये सब dream में चल रहा है ना? Then he'll again cry, oh, my son is bitten by a snake. Then again, he's cured automatically in the dream. In the dream, anything is possible. So he becomes happy again. So this is, like counteracting the problems of the world. This will never be solved. Only if somebody comes out of this dreamlike state and starts identifying, I am servant of Krishna, then one can be free from this suffering. All suffering goes, in wholesale if we identify ourselves with the being a servant of Krishna. So how to stop the samsara? Narad Muni says, there is only one way to stop the samsara. That is surrendering to Krishna. He says, Athatmano artha bhutasya yato anartha parampara samsritistad vyavachedo bhaktya paramaya gurau. He says, Athatmano artha bhutasya. The real interest of the living entity is yato anartha parampara. There is a parampana of anartha. What is the parampara of anartha? That is the cycle of birth and death. The cycle of birth and death is going on because of the ignorance. That ignorance is the anartha. Samsritistad vyavachedo bhaktya paramaya guru. Only remedy of this to come out of this material world is bhaktya paramaya guru. To surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his representative. That is the only way to come out of this, So we are discussing 36th verse. So 36th verse of the 29th chapter we are discussing. So Narad Muni is saying only remedy to come out of this material existence is surrender to Krishna. Bhaktya paramaya gurau. By serving the devotee of the Lord, one can be free from the cycle of birth and death. And then he says, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Samahitaha Sadrichinena Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Janayishyati. Vasudeve Bhagavati, only by rendering devotional service unto Lord Vasudev. Bhakti Yoga Samahita, in full devotional consciousness. What will take birth? Vairagya and Jnana. Vairagya, Jnana Janayishyati. Jnana and Vairagya automatically takes birth. The same verse comes in the first canto also. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Hetukam. Almost similar verse. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Hetukam. If somebody takes to the process of Krishna consciousness, two things automatically should come. It has to come. If it is not coming, that means we are not practicing bhakti. What are these two things? Gyan and Vairagya. We develop more and more knowledge about Krishna, and then we become detached from the material world. If these two things are not happening, that means we have to check, am I practicing bhakti properly? Is there some problem? That's why I'm not experiencing that detachment. Still, I'm getting attracted to the things of this world, the glamour of this world. They are still attracting me. That means there is some problem. That means the anchor is still there somewhere. We heard the story, Prabhupada tells the story of a marriage party going from the one side to the other side. The boatman rode whole night, but still they were at the same place because the boatman had forgotten to remove the anchor. So therefore, if we are not developing this Vairagya and Jnana, that means there is somewhere anchor is still there. Anartha upshamam shakshat bhakti yogam adhokshaje lokasya ajanato vidvam chakre satvata samhita. That is the purpose of Vyasadev writing this Bhagavatam. Because anartha upshamam, only by practicing and applying these principles of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita in our lives, anartha upashamam, all the contaminations will be destroyed. Bhakti yogam adhokshaje, and this will help us to perform devotional service. But people did not know, so therefore Vyasadev Chakre Satvat Samhita, he wrote this Bhagavatam. So only by serving Supreme Lord one can get liberated. It is described by Prabhupada. He says, Muktir hitva anyatha rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. What is the definition of liberation? Swarupena vyavasthiti, being established in our natural position. And therefore, it says that when somebody hears about Krishna, when he hears about the devotional process, it is as good as seeing the Lord. Sochira deva rajarshe syata chuta kathashraya shanvata shraddadhanasya nityada syad adhiyatah. So, O Rajarshi, so achirad, many times devotees, they become very desperate, restless. When will I get devotional service? Pure devotional service. When will I become pure devotee? In one of the colleges, one boy was saying, Prabhuji, कितना टाइम लगेगा ये सब प्योर डिवोटी बनने के लिए? So Prabhupada जैसा प्योर डिवोटी बनने के लिए कितना टाइम लगेगा? So he said, 2 महीने हो जाएगा ना प्रभु? So that's how, if somebody is so very desperate, he thinks ab bhi chahiye. Somebody said, one person was praying to Krishna, oh Krishna, please give me patience and give me now. So he is impatient in asking of patience. But Krishna is so very wonderful. In so many places, Krishna is saying, Achirat, very soon you will get devotional service. How? Achyuta Kathashraya. Whoever is engaged in hearing about the pastimes of the Lord, the activities of the Lord, Nam, Roop, Gun, and Leela. In what consciousness? Shrinvata Shraddadhanasya. One who is faithful, one who is always hearing about the qualities of the Lord. Then he becomes eligible to see the beautiful form of the Lord. So therefore, as devotees, we have to see through our ears. So ears are such wonderful, sense organs. Ears can perform the actions of eyes also. It can perform the actions of tongue also. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. Ase Srutekshit Patho Shruta Ikshit. We have to see the Lord through our ears. We can even smell the fragrance of the lotus feet of the Lord through our ears. Shruti Vata Nitam. So therefore, when we hear the pastimes of the Lord regularly, we will surely see the Lord. Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Annetvevam ajananta shrutva nebhya upasate tepi chati tarantyeva mrityum shruti parayana. There are others who also worship me by hearing, Shruti Parayana. So this process of hearing is the only way by which we can become advanced in Krishna consciousness. That is how we will develop attraction to Krishna. Shrutva gunan bhuvana sundara shrinvatam te nirvishya karna vivare harato angatapam rupam drisham drishimatam akhilarthalabham toyi achyata vishati chittam apatrapam me. So Rukmini Devi, she's saying, she's writing a letter, she's telling Krishna, oh Krishna, I have heard about your glories. Rukmini Devi had never seen Krishna in her whole life. She had just heard about Krishna. Sa upashrutya mukundasya rupa virya gunashriya grihagatam giyamanai tannene sadrishimpati. Upashrutya, she had heard about four things: rupa, guna, rupa, virya, guna, and shriya. She had heard about the beauty of Krishna, strength of Krishna, qualities of Krishna, and opulence of Krishna. How did she hear? From so many sages who would come to the palace of Bhishmaka. They would glorify Krishna, and Rukmini Devi would hear that. So this is how we have to develop our attraction to Krishna, by constantly hearing, constantly reading, about Krishna's name, form, qualities. Then Krishna will surely protect us. Tesham aham samudharta. Mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami na achirat. Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita also, na achirat. Very soon you will come to me. I will bring you back to my abode very soon. Only thing we have to do is we have to be patient. Be patient. Utsaha, Nishchay, and Dhairya. So Prabhupada quotes from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kubuddhi chhadiya kara shravana kirtan achirat pabe tabe krishne racharan. Kubuddhi chhadiya, just give up this mentality and chant and hear the names of Krishna. Achirat. Achirat means very quickly you will achieve the lotus feet of Lord. Antare nishtha kar bahye lok vyavahar achirat Krishna tomai koribe uddhar. So Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling to Raghunath Das Goswami, don't be impatient. Just perform the daily duties in the heart of your hearts. Keep on thinking about Krishna. Krishna will surely deliver you. So this is the responsibility of every householder and every person. Whatever is needed, we have to take care. We have to do our daily activities, but always thinking about Krishna. So where will this bhakti take place? Because Narad Muni is saying, by hearing about the Lord, one will develop bhakti. So where will I get this bhakti? So he says, Krishna Katha is found in association of devotees. Yatra Bhagavata Rajan Sadhavo Vishadashayah Bhagavad Gunanu Kathana Shravana Vyagra Chetasaha. So Bhagavata Rajan, O Rajan, O King, the great, broad-minded and pure devotees of the Lord, they hear and chant the glories of the Lord with great eagerness. This eagerness is the prize. So in association of devotees, we'll find Krishna Katha. And just like Narad Muni, he was so very eager to hear each and every word which the Bhaktivedantists were speaking. That is how we have to be very, very eager to taste this Hari Katha. Many times our biggest problem is Bhagavatam mein jagah kaise rahe, how to be awake in Bhagavatam class. So that's how, from where we have to start. At least, if we are feeling sleepy, do something. We have to show our eagerness that I want to hear, I want to relish. But because of my conditionings, I am so very fallen, so very, unfortunate. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Durdevam idrishmiha janina anuraga. I don't have any taste for your name, form, pastime. So Krishna, I am so unfortunate. Please show your mercy. So therefore, when we are in association of devotees, for sure we will find Krishna Katha, pure Krishna Katha. So Prabhupada writes that only in association of devotees we can find Krishna. Naham tishtami vaikunthe yoginam hridayeshuva yatra gayanti madbhakta tatra tishtami narada. Krishna is telling to Narad Muni, oh Narad Muni, I do not stay in Vaikuntha. I do not stay in the heart of the yogis. I stay wherever my devotees, they sing my pastimes. Satam prasangan mam virya samvido bhavanti ritkarna rasayana katha Tadjoshanadashyopavargavartmani Shraddharatir Bhakti Anukrameshyati. So, in association of devotees where Krishna Katha is going on, if somebody with a sincere heart goes and hears that Hari Katha, then three things happen. Shraddha, Rati, and Bhakti automatically follow. One becomes very faithful, becomes attracted to Krishna, and becomes devoted to the service of the Lord. So, then after describing this, he says that one who hears this Hari Katha, what is the result? Tasmin Mahan Mukharita Madhube Charitra Piyush Shesha Sharita Parita Shravanti Taye Pibantyava Trishno Nripagada Karnai Tanna Sprashanti Ashana Tridbhaya Shoka Mohaha. So whoever hears Krishna Katha, this nectarine Krishna Katha, Piyush Shesha Sarita, the river of Krishna Katha is flowing through from the mouth of your devotees. Taye pibanti avitrishno. Whoever drinks this Hari Katha, this nectar of Hari Katha with avitrishna, with great eagerness, attentive here, Shravanti, what happens? And then Tan na sparshanti, they will not have these five things. Ashana, Trit, Bhaya, Shok, and Moha. Very beautiful verse. These five things devotees will not experience. If somebody is absorbed in hearing Hari Katha, they will not experience hunger, thirst, fear, lamentation, and illusion. So if these things are still tormenting us, that means we are not still absorbed. Krishna Leela Amritasar Tara Shatta Shattadhar Dashadike Bahe Yaha Hoite Sai Chaitanya Leela Hoye Sarovar Akshay Manohamsa Charaha Tahate. So Krishna Leela is like a Amritsar, nectar, and hundreds of these rivers of nectar are flowing in all the 10 directions. Sri Chaitanya Leela, that is Krishna Leela, and Chaitanya Leela is like inexhaustible reservoir of nectar, which never gets extinguished. So therefore, a devotee should engage the mind in serving these pastimes of Krishna. Krishna Bhakti Siddhantagan Yate Prafulla Padmavan Taram Adhiparva Swadan Prem Rasa Kumudvane Prafullita Ratri Dine Tate Charao Mano Bhringagan. Krishna Bhakti Siddhanta. We should not be lazy in understanding the philosophy, So now it is all philosophy going on. So when philosophy comes, it is very, it's not so palatable. Story सुनाई ना पूछी, story भागवतम का story सुनने में मजा आता है. But Kaviraj Goswami is saying Krishna Bhakti Siddhantagan Yate Prafulla Padmavan. It is like a blossomed garden of flowers. Premarasa Kumudvane Prafullita Ratri Dine. And in this garden, day and night, all the flowers are blooming. Tate Charao Mano Bhringagan. A devotee should engage and roam in this garden of Siddhanta. Siddhanta Bolia Jiva Chitte Nakaro Alas Iha Haite Krishna Lagi Sudrida Manas. We should not be lazy in understanding the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. We should not be sentimental followers. If everything is good, I am there. We should. That is the difference between the Kanishta Adhikari and Madhyam Adhikari. Kanishta Adhikari, his knowledge of scriptures is not very strong. So we have to make our knowledge of scriptures very, very strong so that we may be able to argue with anyone on the philosophy. Prabhupada was once with one devotee and they were on a flight. So there was a still time, they were in the air, So Prabhupada told that devotee, you become a Mayavadi, I'll become a devotee and we'll argue, debate. He said, okay. So whatever the devotee knew, he told all the, arguments, and Prabhupada smashed immediately, and then he was defeated. After that, Prabhupada said, now you become a devotee, I'll become Mayavadi. So this devotee said, okay, great, I know all the arguments now. And then to his surprise, Prabhupada still defeated him. So Prabhupada then he said, that's how you should be expert in understanding even the philosophy of your opponents. So therefore, it is a duty of a Krishna conscious devotee. They should be very, very well versed in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. You know, then if we engage our mind in these things, then Ashana, Trit, Bhaya, Shok, and Moha, these 5 things will not affect us. As you know, first canto describes, Yasyam Vaishruyamanayam Krishne Paramapurushe Bhaktir Utpadyate Pumsam Shoka Moha Bhayapaha. Whoever hears this Hari Katha through the ears, what will happen? 3 things: Shoka, Moha, Bhaya, Apaha. Lamentation, fear, and illusion gets dispelled. As Parikshit Maharaj is telling to Shukdeva Goswami in the beginning of the 10th canto, Naisha ati dussakshun mam tyaktodam apibadate pibantam tom mukham bhoja chutam Hari Kathamritam. He says, don't think I am being troubled by hunger and thirst. I am nourished because I am tasting the nectar of Hari Katha, which is coming from your lotus mouth. So that is the power of the Krishna Katha. One becomes free from thirst, hunger, lamentation, fear, and illusion. Then Narad Muni says that the conditioned soul is always disturbed by so many bodily necessities, and therefore he has no time to cultivate this attachment for this Hari Katha. So therefore, only in association of devotees we can develop the attachment for Hari Katha. You become what you associate with. If you want to develop that attachment, then we have to be with those devotees. Prabhupada writes that different people are attached to different things in different phases of their life. If we turn our attachment to Krishna and devotees of the Lord, then we will also develop that attachment to Krishna. So therefore, after this, Narad Muni, he very strongly he says that just give up your karma kandi mentality. He says, this knowledge which I am giving you is so very rare. Brahma, Shiva, Kumaras, and even myself, Narad Muni is saying, although we are knowledgeable in all the Vedas, although we are so very skillful in speaking them, although we are so very powerful in our austerities, education and meditation, but still we do not know or see the Lord directly, perfectly. So seeing the Lord is very, very difficult thing. So therefore we have to understand that the knowledge which I am giving you, O King, it is very, very rare. Only by the mercy of the devotees of the Lord we can get this knowledge. Athapi te deva padambujadvaya prasadaleshanugrihita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno na chanya ekopi chiram vichinvan. Only by Dev Padam Bhuja Dvaya Prasad, only by the mercy of the devotees of the Lord and only by the mercy of the Lord. Janati Tattvam Bhagavan, we can know the Tattva of the Lord. Otherwise, even if somebody does tapasya for thousands of years, he will not know. Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Prema Tattva, Sar, Bhava Tattva, Rasa Tattva, Leela Tattvar. So therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave these 6 type of tattvas. He taught these to Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami: Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Prema Tattva, Bhava Tattva, Rasa Tattva, and Leela Tattva. Saba Shikhaila Prabhu Bhagavat Siddhanta. Through Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught all these to these Rupa Sanatana Goswami. And that is our treasure. That is our whole legacy. This all the nectarine instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the essence of scriptures, they are presented by Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and our acharyas in very, very understandable, simple format. We discussed Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is the outcome of 25 years of bhajan of Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami came to Vrindavan in 1515. And Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu was published in 1540. So after 25 years of bhajan, and this definition of anyabhilashita shunyam, which anybody in ISKCON knows by heart, that is not an ordinary thing. We have attained this after years and years of bhajan of Rupa Goswami. So therefore, only by the mercy of the devotees of the Lord we can know this. So he says, nobody knows about Lord's qualities. Shesha is chanting the names of the Lord since the beginning of the creation. He has not come to an end. Even if one can count the rays of the sun, even if somebody can count the dust particles on the earth, even if somebody can count the snowflakes in the Arctic and Antarctic regions, still they will not be able to count the glories of Lord. So he says, only by mercy. Jnanis, they do not know the Lord. Karmis, they do not know the Lord. Then who knows the Lord? Only devotees know the Lord. By engaging in devotional service only, one can know the Lord. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha. Only by devotional service, one can know me, O Arjuna, Krishna is saying. Then Narad Muni says, you have based your whole life in all these karmakandi rituals. Because Prachina Barhi was famous for all these karmakandi rituals. We started in the beginning of the story that he was so expert in sacrifices. One sacrifice would end, he would start another sacrifice besides that. His whole life was full of sacrifices, Vedic sacrifices. But he says, Arey Baba, all these Vedic sacrifices, they are not the goal of life. They may appear to be the legitimate goals, and it may be described in the scriptures, and it may be pleasing to the ear. If you do this, you will go to heaven, you will enjoy there. Yam imam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipmaschataha vedavadarata partha nanyat astiti vadinaha kamatmana swargapara janma karma falapradam priya vishesha bahulam bhoga ishwarya gatim prati. So Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, all these things which are described in the Vedas, they are like the flowery words. Don't be attracted by the flowery words of the Vedas. They will steal your consciousness. Those who are kamatma, their atma is kam. Their essence of life is sense gratification. They are attracted by all these Vedic rituals. They are attracted by Vedas. You don't get attracted by Vedas. Otherwise, jad vityajat mayar vaibhav tomar bhajane vadha moha janmiya anitya samsare jivo ke karay gadha. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, those who are attracted by material things of the world, Vedas, they deal with dharma, artha, kama and moksha ultimately. Most of it is material. So all this makes a person like a donkey. Few animals are very celebrated in Bhagavatam. Donkey, Shwa, Vidvaraha, Ushtra and Kharai. Shwa means a dog. Then Varah means stool eating hog. Ushtra means camel. And Khara means ass. They have their particular features because of which they are famous in Bhagavatam. Dog, although is very loyal to the master, he is beaten many times. Therefore, similarly, living entity is so very loyal to sense gratification, but still is beaten many times. Vidvaraha, it is for those people who engage in eating all obnoxious things. Then Ushtra means, camel has a very particular eating habit. Camel likes to eat thorns. And when thorns prick in the mouth of the camel, blood comes out. And when the camel tastes his own blood, that blood is very, very tasty for the camel. It is like those people who are attracted and absorbed in sex life. What they are doing is they are tasting their own blood. So therefore, those people who are engaging in sense gratification based on the Vedas, they are becoming an ass. So therefore, Prachina Bhari may say, then why do my priests and sages make me do karma? You are telling that this is not the goal of life. Itne जीवन में मैंने यही किया है खाली. Why did they not tell me? My sages, my priests, they did not tell me. So Narad Muni says, Baba, foolish people, they do not know this. Not everyone knows this. Those who are those whose intelligence are absorbed in Vedic rituals, they don't know the purpose of the Vedas. Vedescha sarvairahamev vidyo. They do not know this. Those who are absorbed in sense gratification, they worship the devatas. Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavati alpamedasam. They are less intelligent. They will never worship Krishna. They are completely absorbed in serving their own senses. They know Swarga, they do not know Vaikuntha. So then Prachinabhari may say, okay, then what is the supreme activity? Please tell me. Narad Muni says, supreme activity is only one. Serving the Lord, pleasing the Lord is a supreme activity. As Bhagavatam also says in the first canto, Atha Pumbir Dvijasreshta Varnashrama Vibhagasha Swanushtitasya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. Haritoshanam is the goal of all the humans. This is a supreme activity. What is the nature of Hari? Then he says, first he tells everybody has to do devotional service. It is a supreme devotional service unto whom? Unto Lord Hari. Who is Lord Hari? Hari is Deha Bhrita. He is the super soul of every embodied living entity. He is Prakriti Rishwara. He is the Lord. He is the supreme controller. And then he is Tatpad Moolam Sharanam. He is worth taking shelter. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord, Yata Shemo Nirnam Iha. He gets benefited. That is the only thing which is auspicious, which can happen. And what is the result of worshipping the Lord in such a way? Savai priyatamaschatma yato na bhayam anvapi iti veda savai vidwan yo vidwan sa gurur harihi. So he says that because the Lord is Paramatma and friend of everyone, anyone who is engaged in devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, there is no fear of material existence for him. He is fearless. If somebody wants to be fearless, this is only possible by worshipping the Supreme Lord. Bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshatasya. When does fear arise? Because when we see things separately from Krishna. This is mine, this is Krishna's. Krishna, ये सब आपके लिए, ये थोड़ा सा ना वो मेरे लिए, ये नहीं दूंगा मैं. This is for me. That creates fear, As Bhartrihari, he says, there are various types of fear in this world. Bhogi roga bhayam kule chuti bhayam vritte nipalad bhayam mane dainya bhayam bale ripu bhayam rupe jaraya bhayam shastre vadi bhayam gune khala bhayam kaye kritantad bhayam sarvam vastu bhayanvitam bhuvinam vairagyameva bhayam. He says, bhogi, those who wants, if somebody wants to enjoy, he's fearful of disease. In disease situation, nobody can enjoy. Kule chuti bhayam, who is born in the high family, he's fearful of fall down. Rogi bhog bhayam, kule chuti bhayam, rupe kaye kritantat bhayam. Those who love their body, they are fearful of death. Mani dainya bhayam, those who are proud, they are fearful of being humbled. Mane bale ripu bhayam, those who are strong, they are fearful of enemies. Rupe jaraya bhayam, those who are beautiful, they are fearful of old age. Shastre vadi bhayam, those who are scholars, they are fearful of debate. Gune khal bhayam, those who have qualities, good qualities, they are fearful of, sinful people. Sarvam vastu bhayanvitam bhuvinam. In this world, everything gives fearlessness. There is only one thing which makes one fear. Everything gives fear. Only one thing makes one fearless. Vairagyam eva abhayam. If somebody gets detached from all these material things, he becomes fearless. This will happen only by devotional service. Automatically, Janayati ashu vairagyam. Vairagya comes automatically, and then one becomes free. One becomes free from this fear. So therefore, Narad Muni says, those who know this secret, they are actually educated. And they can become sa vidwan, sa Gurur Hari. They are educated and they can become Guru of all the world. So Prabhupada in the purport focuses on this word Gurur Hari. Who can become Guru? Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Shastrai. Guru is non different from Lord. Who is Guru? Only a Vaishnava can be Guru. Nobody else can become a Guru. Shat Karma, Nipuno, Vipro, Mantra, Tantra, Visharada. A Vaishnava Guru Nasyad. Vaishnava Shwapacho Guru. If somebody is born in the family of a Brahmana, expert in all the Vedic rituals, Mantra, Tantra, Visharada, chanting mantras, right, left hand thing, he's a Vaishnava. He cannot become a Guru. Vaishnava Shwapacho Guru. Even if somebody is born in a family of dog eaters, he can become a Guru if he is a Vaishnava. So this is the result of worshipping the Lord, And then after this, Prachina Bhari, he pakka was convinced. Now I have to give up my family. I have to go to forest. Bahut ho gaya ye sab sense gratification, karmakandi. He made up his mind. In his mind, he was about to send his servants to bring prachetas. His sons were doing tapasya. Remember, they had gone to do tapasya and they met Lord Shiva. So they were doing tapasya. So Prachina Bharhi, now after hearing such a heavy dose of instructions, he thought enough is enough. Ab bahut ho gaya. Abhi sannyas. So he made up his mind to hand over the kingdom to the sons and go to forest. Understanding this mentality of Prachina Bharhi, Narad Muni, still he is not giving up. Still he is thinking, और उसको थोड़ा renounce, detach करते हैं. He again speaks another story. एक story पहले पुरंजन का story बनाया. Now second story he is speaking about a deer. He speaks a second allegory of a deer. Hearing so that he completely becomes detached from the family life. So now Narad Muni speaks a beautiful allegory of a deer. He says, O Prachina Bharhi, I have answered all your queries. Now hear another story which is very, very confidential. What is that story? He says, there was once a deer grazing grass and he was enjoying with his mate in the garden of flowers that was very aromatic. And then his ears were attracted to the song of the swarms of bumblebees. He was moving about without any consideration, enjoying life. He was not realizing that the hungry tiger was in front of him. And a hunter was behind him, ready to shoot arrows. Then he says, this is one word. In one verse, this time he completes the whole story in one verse. Ek verse mein pura allegory bol diya. 54th verse is telling the meaning. O Puranjan, this deer is a man which is attached to household life. He is so very absorbed in enjoying the company of his wife. And he is always thinking of having sex life with his wife. His ears are always attracted by the song of the bumblebees. What is that? That is sweet words of the wife and children. And in this way, a householder does not understand that death is approaching. Time is coming. Life is passing by. Dehapatya kalatradishu atma sainyashu asatsuapi tesham pramatto nidhanam pashyan api na pashyati. The living entity, the materialist who is absorbed in family, he does not see death is approaching. Prahlad Maharaj describes the condition of a materialistic person in 3 very, very powerful verses. 5 years old Prahlad, he is teaching this to his friends. Katham priyaya anukampitaya sangam rahasyam ruchiramsha mantran suhrit sutat snehashita shishunam kalaksharanam anurakta chitta. He says, oh my dear friends, a person who is attached to his family life, for him, his wife speaks beautiful mantras in the ears of the husband, so ruchiramscha mantra. And then because of the combination union, children are born, and children, they speak in a broken language. Kalaksharanam anurakta chitta. Mind becomes completely absorbed. Putran smaramsta duhitra chintaya bhratri swasrirava pitarau cha dino Grihan manogyo ruparichadamscha vrittescha kulya pashubhritya vargan. Putran, he remembers his sons, his daughters, his brother, sister. He remembers his old parents. In this way, he is completely absorbed in this family life. And then he cannot come out of, just like a cocoon, just like a silkworm weaves a cocoon around itself and dies there. A attached householder, he weaves a cocoon of attachments around himself and dies there. Tejeta koshat kridiveha mana karmani lobhat avitripta kamaha aupasthya jahivam bahumanyamana katham virajyeta duranta moha. She says, how can an attached householder leave this family attachment? He says, oh Prachin Bhari, you are like that deer, straightforwardly says that you are like the deer. You are attached to fruitive activity. Just give up your abominable household life filled with the stories of man and women. You are so very attached to all these mundane things. Just give up all that. Take shelter of Lord, you know, and surrender to the instructions given by the liberated souls. Now, Prachin Bhari, he asks further questions. He says, oh Narad Muni, my teachers, till now they bewildered me. I have heard and considered what you have spoken. I realized that whatever you are speaking is for my benefit. I accept you as my guru. I did not know all these facts. You have completely destroyed my doubts. You have now I can see how even great sages, they are bewildered. So I'll just take 10 more minutes to complete this chapter. So he says, I have one more doubt about the path of karma. So now very philosophical, very interesting section starts about the transmigration. How the body, how the soul goes to another body, what all happens. Very interesting, discussion is going to happen between Narad Muni and this Prachin Bhari. He says, I have this one doubt, that I've heard that results of whatever a living entity does in this life, he enjoys in the next life. How is this possible? ये कैसे हो सकता है? Because the body is dead, body is destroyed. So how one can enjoy the actions of this body in the next body? What is the proof of this? I have heard this, but proof batao bhai. In other words, he's saying it is not right that a person performs action in one body and enjoys the result in another body. ऐसा कैसे होगा? What is the proof of this? Because it is not possible. Practically, it is not seen. So now Narad Muni starts the description of the science of transmigration. He says, mind plays a very important role in transmigration. So what happens is, after the gross body dies, subtle body does not die. The gross body is forced to act through the subtle body. In the subtle body, mind is the very predominant thing. What is the subtle body? It will come later. Now, subtle body is made of a few elements. So after the gross body is lost, subtle body is still there and continues to enjoy and suffer. So now he says, I'll explain you with the dream, with the analogy of a dream. So what happens when person is dreaming? One gives up the gross body, and through the subtle body, one acts in another body. Just like in the dream, one may see that himself to be a dog, or so many things. He may become God also. In reincarnation, similarly, what happens? One gives up the gross body, but the subtle body enters the another gross body and experiences the results of the actions of the past lives. In the second canto also, Shukdev Goswami tells, Atma Maya Rite Rajan Parasyano Bhavatmanah Na Ghatetarth Sambandha Swapna Drashtur Ivanjasa. Living entity's relationship with this body is not possible. It is just an illusion. Living entity's spiritual body is material. How can this relation happen? Parikshit Maharaj asked. Shukdev Goswami says, actually it never happens. It is just like the dream. Just like in dream, we may consider that I have this body, that body. That is night dream, this is daydream. So therefore, what happens? Now, Narad Muni says, our next life is determined by our present life. When you see somebody's actions, you can understand ye next janam mein kya banne wala hai. So therefore, our present life's actions, our present life's conceptions, the activities which we perform in this life, we can understand what this person will become in the next life. And he says that whatever we performed in the last life can be understood by our mentality. If somebody is so very angry, that means he was angry in the past life also a lot. Prabhupada writes, face is just like the face is the index of mind. If one is angry, anger is exhibited in the face. Similarly, the mental states are reflected by the actions of the gross body. The way we react, the way we act shows what is our mental condition. Chaitanya Charitamrita says a very nice line. He says, we are dressed for and dressed by our desires. We are dressed for and dressed by our desires. That means whatever actions we'll do in this life, we'll get a dress according to that in our next life. Whatever actions we did in the past life, we got a body because of that in this life. So therefore he says that mind, when it is joined with a particular sense, it manifests in certain way. For example, when anger is manifested in the mind, the tongue starts vibrating so many abuses. When the anger is expressed to the mind's anger is expressed through hand, there is fighting. When the mind's anger is expressed through leg, there is kicking. Prabhupada writes. So the subtle activities of the mind are expressed through the gross senses. Prabhupada writes, the mind of a Krishna conscious person is also acts in a similar way. Mind because absorbed in Krishna, so mind's absorption in glorifying manifests as chanting through the tongue. Mind's absorption in serving the Lord manifests as raising the hands in dancing, in ecstasy, and the legs in moving. So one may say, how can we perceive the subtle body which is not destroyed when the gross body is destroyed? So he gives the example. Narad Muni says, just like we can understand that we have a subtle body. How? Subtle body is never destroyed. Gross body gets destroyed. Subtle body is not destroyed. All of us must have experienced in dream. Sometime we are flying in the sky. Although we have never experienced flying in this life, we may not have experienced, not with airplanes, flying on with this body, because in the previous life, either as a devata or as an astronaut, we flew. Prabhupada writes. That impression is there in the stockpile of the mind, and that's why Prabhupada writes, it is like fermentation happening. Mind में सब fermentation चलता रहता है. कभी-कभी bubble ऊपर आता है. So that bubble is the impression, is the manifestation of a dream. So therefore, mind carries the impression to the next body. Sometimes Prabhupada writes, sometimes it is proven by saying that sometimes people say this person is a born poet, this person is a born scientist, this person is a born devotee. What is happening here? Past life mein sab kiya hai. That's why the impressions are there. In the past life, he has made his subtle body in such a way. Last life, he was a scientist. Last life, if somebody is a mathematician, that's why we hear child prodigies. From such childhood, somebody starts singing very nicely. Somebody starts sketching, painting, singing, and solving problems, memorizing verses, chanting automatically. All past life activity. Subtle body is functioning. Subtle body never dies. The mental impressions of the previous body, they affect the present body. So therefore, it is not possible that if the impressions are not there in the mind, it will not manifest. So if we are having some impressions, that means we have done it in the past life for sure. Otherwise, it is not possible. If we are too much lusty, that means in the past life we have done that. If we are too much angry, that means we have done that. If we are envious, greedy, that means we have done that in the past life. Therefore, Prabhupada writes, if the mind is purified by Krishna consciousness, one will naturally in the future get a body which is spiritual. Because we thought all the material things, we have a material body. Now in this life, if we cultivate the spiritual thoughts, we will get a spiritual body in the next life. And therefore, Narad Muni says, the mind is the cause of the living entities attaining a particular type of body. And Prabhupada writes, the mind is the index of information about the past life and the future life also. We can understand ye kya banne wala hai agle janam mein. Just understanding the mindset of a person. If the mindset is if somebody is a devotee of the Lord, he has devoted his life, then for sure, next life he'll be liberated. If the mind is criminal, we should know last life mein criminal tha. You have seen some children, they are very sober, calm, peaceful, gentle. And some children, they are like, oof, kidhar se aa gayi, So some parents, they think, kidhar se paida ho gayi, None of our family members behave like this person. Ye pehle se leke aaye ho sab, attracted a particular type of soul according to the activity. We discussed this in the Diti Kashyap episode in the third canto. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, the present mind indicates that he was this type of person previously. Ye pichle janam mein aisa tha, that's why now he has this type of mentality. So now somebody may say, how is it that one sometimes sees impossible things in the dream? Somebody may see ocean on the top of a mountain. Somebody may see without a head. How is this possible? Narad Muni says, this is because mind is like a place where all the different impressions are constantly getting, permutation and combination chalta rehta hai udhar ka. So all impossible things we see in the mind, in the dream, because pehle humne sab experience kiya hai. So all this permutation combination happens. Just like somebody may see a golden mountain in the dream. Golden mountain does not exist. Of course, it is there. Our Sumeru mountain is a golden mountain, but we have never seen that. So what we have seen gold and we have seen a mountain. So mind क्या करता है ये दोनों को mix, So इसको ऐसा खिचड़ी बना के golden mountain. So therefore, because mind is the storehouse of thoughts, experiences, and desires, they appear in a particular sequence and in different combinations. यही चलता रहता है. Thoughts, experience, and desire. ये तीनों को ना ऐसा पूरा मिक्सी में डाल के, and then what comes out is unimaginable thing. So therefore, we experience things which we have never experienced, we have never seen. But then Narad Muni says, devotee avoids all this transmigration. Devotee does not have to go do all this. He is so very absorbed in Krishna consciousness that he attains Lord. Karmani nirdhati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. All the sinful activities, all the karmic reactions, they get purified. As a nectar of devotion, Rupa Goswami states from Padma Puran. He says that aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bijam phalonmukham krameneva praliyate Vishnu bhakti ratatmana. By the process of Vishnu bhakti, 4 things get destroyed. Aprarabdha, that means the reactions which are not manifested yet, the reactions which are manifesting, they also get reduced, minimized. The sinful proclivity and those which are just about to sprout, the reactions, everything is destroyed. So therefore, Narad Muni says, one experiences false identification only because of this subtle body. So the subtle body is not destroyed when When he says that subtle body never gets destroyed, even when the senses are inactive. For example, deep sleep, senses are inactive. Fainting, murcha, one is susupti, deep sleep, senses are inactive. When one faints, senses are inactive. When one experiences unbearable grief, senses are inactive. In mrityu, senses are inactive. When one faces very high temperature, in all these cases, one loses self-awareness, unconscious. But the subtle body continues to exist. And then Narad Muni says, even if the senses are not developed, just like when child is in the womb, the senses are not developed. In the young, small children, they don't experience all these lusty desires because the senses are not developed. Prabhupada writes, in a dream, a young man may experience the presence of a young woman because the senses are active. But a child will never see a young woman in the dream because the senses are not active. So therefore, unless the senses of gross body they are developed, they will not act on the subtle body. So this is the science. The young children will never see women in their dreams, young boys, because of the absence of the desires in the subtle body. There is no development in the gross body. But he says inactive senses does not mean oh liberated soul hai. People say bacche to bhagwan ka roop hai. Nahi, children may be innocent, but they are not liberated. We should not consider children to be exalted souls. They are just innocent. Although they are innocent, but they are not liberated because the impressions are not destroyed. And then Narad Muni describes actually what is this subtle body. The subtle body is made up of, these 16 elements along with 5 prana and 3 modes and consciousness. So when the body is dead, soul, that is consciousness, is carried along with 16 elements, that is 10 senses, 5 karmendriyas, 5 gyanendriyas, and then 5 sense objects, tanmatras, subtle form, tanmatras are there. Mind is there. 5 prana vayu. We discussed the whole story of Puranjana being dragged away. The snake was following behind. So prana vayu, 5 pranas, and then 3 modes. That is the subtle body. And then this jiva gets transmigrated, from one body to another body, just like a caterpillar. Have you seen, if anybody of you have seen a caterpillar, when the caterpillar transfers itself from one leaf to another leaf, till the time the caterpillar completely fixes itself on the other leaf, does not leave the previous leaf. Similarly, when the soul is transmigrating from one body to another body, unless one transmigrates completely, the jiva does not want to give up the identity. Even while dying, nobody wants to leave. Only if after the soul completely leaves the body and goes to another body, then only the attachment to this body is gone. Therefore, Prabhupada writes, it is found that sometimes people, they remain in coma for many days because they are so very attached to the body. It's like the caterpillar not able to give up that leaf. And he says there are so many so-called leaders and politicians who think that without their presence, this country will not run. They many times go in coma. What is coma? Soul is so very attached to the body, does not want to go to another place. So therefore, this mind is the cause of attachment. As long as we desire to enjoy, we'll create material activities, So therefore, he says, only by worshipping the Supreme Lord, one can counteract the ignorance. Because Supreme Lord is the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of all the universe. Hearing this, Prachina Barhi became completely renounced. And then Narad Muni left. He went to Siddhaloka. Prachina Barhi, he gave orders to his ministers, whenever my sons come, make them king. And he left even without waiting for the sons to come. And therefore, Prachin Bari, he went to the forest, became free from all the materialistic association, and he attained the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So now, Maitreya Muni, just if you remember, this is a conversation going on between Maitreya and Vidura. So now Maitreya is telling to Vidura, "Oh Vidura, now I will tell you Falashruti. One who hears this narration concerning the understanding of living entities' spiritual existence as described by the great sage Narada, or one who relates this to others, what is the Falashruti? First, he becomes liberated from the subtle body. This narration sanctifies the whole material world, purifies the heart of the jivas, liberates the living entity from the bondage, relieves from the bodily conception, elevates him to the spiritual world, and clears all the doubts about the next life." So this is the end of the 29th chapter. We'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. When the soul is liberated from cycle of birth and death, and when it goes back to God, at what time? At that time also, no. Subtle body means subtle is material. No? Subtle body is material. Mind, intelligence, and ego is material. So when the soul goes to the spiritual world, there is no need of the material body. So subtle body is also material. Gross body and subtle body, they are both material. Bhumi, apo, analo, vayu, kham, mano, buddhirevacha, ahankar, itiyamme, bhinna, prakritirashtha. So all this gross body and subtle body is left here. Then only we can go to the spiritual world. Last thing to be given up is the false ego. So like that. Okay, so we'll stop here. So thank you very much. Okay, there are some more questions. Subtle and spiritual are two different bodies. Yes. Subtle body means mind, intelligence, and ego. And spiritual means the soul. The soul is Satchidananda. And covering the soul is a subtle body which is made up of mind, intelligence, and ego. And then covering this subtle body is the gross body made up of Panchamahabhuta. Panchamahabhuta means earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So they are two different things. Who suffers or enjoys in hell or heaven, the soul or subtle body? Okay, this is a good question. Who suffers in hell or heaven or enjoy in heaven, soul or subtle body? Okay, so just like we have a particular type of body which is earthly body, in the heaven there is a different body which we get. Body is still made up of 5 elements only, but the composition is different. Just like the fish, it has a watery body. That's why they can live in the water. Similarly, when we go to the spiritual heaven, we will get a body suitable for that place. The composition may vary. Similarly, in hell, we get a particular type of body which is called Yatana Sharir. In that body, living entities, they suffer so much. We discussed in the third canto how living entity, when it is taken to the hellish planets, what happens in the hell, and the 5th canto, and we'll discuss in great detail what one living entity goes through. It is living entities pierced and torn apart and cut into pieces and all that, but still he does not die, because he gets a particular type of body that is called Yatana Sharir. Okay, so we'll stop here. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.